Get ready to go from surviving to thriving with me, Clare Downham, where we explore the no tools, no techniques shift to overcome stress, silence self-doubt and create a life of calm, fulfillment and freedom. Let's dive in and begin your transformation. So, what if your thoughts aren't the actual problem? I remember when I first came across anything, I suppose, in the self-development world that talks about thought, and you start to get a sense that there's something about thoughts, isn't there? There's something about how they make us behave. There's something about what they have us say and do and be in life. Like all of it is impacted on by the way we think. And I think for a long time, I thought that meant that I had to fix my thoughts in some way. And I made a very admirable attempt admirable, put my teeth in, made some very admirable attempts to do that. I'm making a very admirable attempt to say the word admirable today, aren't I? But I tried even harder to change my thoughts than I did to say that word. And I tried all sorts of things. So I did a lot of like unconscious type work stuff, hypnotherapy and things like that. And then I did a lot of out loud, shouty things like affirmations and all sorts of stuff like that. Did a lot of journaling, did a lot of gratitude journey. I mean, I really worked hard, and I think it got to the stage where the kind of positive psychology stuff had really taken hold, and I just felt so frustrated if I noticed that there was some kind of thought that I really had decided shouldn't be there. I'd done the work, I'd tried really hard to have different thinking, and it was absolutely ugh, it was exhausting. It really was exhausting. And it was only really, and it is almost 5 years ago now, this month it was 5 years ago that I began to be introduced to the inside out understanding, and that's the understanding that underpins the Thriving Woman approach, which we look at in the Thriving Woman Collective. And I just started to see things about thoughts, I think. That was the thing. Before it had just been your thoughts are causing all your problems, so you best sort them out. You need to change them. You need to have better thoughts. You need to do a lot of doing to make that happen. And then as I began to explore this sort of inside out perspective, I began to just see some fundamental truths about our thoughts really that aren't, true for some people and not true for others. These are the facts about thoughts, and all of these things that I'm going to share with you today, they are absolutely it's absolutely possible for you to witness them, to see those for yourself. And I'll share as we go along ways in which you can do that. So the first thing is that thoughts are transient, as in that they're always moving through. So there's an irony to that when we think about things to do with trying to change our thoughts, is that in order for us to change our thoughts, we have to kind of, it's almost like they're passing, and so that they're just like clouds passing across the sky. I'm not sure the clouds are passing across my sky today. It was sunny earlier, but it's very grey now. But they are. We know they're moving, don't we? And we know the sun, which is like the essence of who we truly are, is underneath all of that. And if we're sort of doing all this fixing our thoughts thing all the time, it's almost like the thoughts are going, they're just passing through. Bye bye, hello, bye bye, off they go. And it's almost like when we spot one that's not supposed to be there, and I think the phrase intrusive thoughts is quite a fun one to play with here, because surely something's only an intruder if you've decided it's not supposed to be there. So we grab our intrusive thought and we kind of pull it in. We go, come on, come to me, my lovely. And we then sit and poke at it and prod at it and go, oh, it's not supposed to be there, and this is terrible, and it shouldn't be there, and what can I do? What's my next thing? What? And I was like that for such a long time. What's the next thing I can try to get rid of this thought. It shouldn't be there. It's a naughty thought. It's not a naughty thought, but you know what I mean. It's not a thought that I think it should be there. So, but in the meantime, what's really happened is that all that thought has gone. Now, the thought we're now holding in our hands and looking at isn't actually still there. It's just we're thinking and thinking. So there's a real difference between a thought passing and us getting engrossed in thinking about our thoughts, which is exhausting. Not passing at all. It's just exhausting. And we then think that's a problem and that's who we are, and we take our thoughts as defining us and being true and being, being just who we are. Really, we start to think, well, if I'm having these kind of thoughts, I'm this kind of person. That probably means there's something wrong with me. If it's the thoughts we don't think we should be having, I must work hard and I must get rid of them, and I must really fight against my thoughts, really, in order to have some kind of better experience of life. So, I mean, I tend to talk about no tools and no techniques, but I do think there's something helpful around taking time to just observe and start to sort of, not as a tool or as a technique, but almost like an evidence collecting activity. I invite you to sit for 5 minutes or so and watch your thoughts, and see, first of all, how transient they are. And second of all, see that you're not, like, who's watching? What is the essence that's watching the thoughts? My invitation here is to see that that's you. That's you. That's really who you are. You're not your thoughts. And you're not, that's not your identity. And really, over identification with our thoughts it creates so much suffering for us. It really, really does. Now, of course, we don't want to be spending loads of time thinking thinking about our thinking, but also, in a place with unpleasant thoughts. However, as we begin to see this truth about thought, that it is transient, it's already leaving as it arrives, it's already going. Only you can stop it doing that. Please don't do that. And that we can just start to see them differently. So the invitation in with the thriving woman approach is that we're not going to spend hours and hours trying to change our thoughts, but we are going to understand some really different things about thoughts so that we can go, okay, there's that awful thought I keep having. So, a lot of people who come and work with me, they've struggled with imposter syndrome and inner critical voice, and me too, very much so. And they've spent a lot of time trying to change that thinking. But in actual fact, what we do here is we say, that's not you anyway. Can you just watch that pass by? Can you notice? Can you be the one noticing that horrible thought that says you're not good enough to do X, Y, Z in your life? You don't have to believe it. And as you start to see thought through a different lens, you just tend to not believe it so much. I mean, one of the other things that we talk about in the Thriving Woman approach is we talk about where those thoughts came from in the first place. They came from the people who were struggling to parent you in a way that was helpful, or to teach you in a way that was helpful, who told you unpleasant things about yourself when you were younger. And I often say to people, there's sort of this process which I've started to call transference, where that voice outside of us that's being critical and unkind in the treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen parenting that I talk about, that voice outside of us is sort of transferred inside, and we grow up. We never can remember a time when that voice wasn't there telling us we were a bit rubbish, and so we think that's us. We just begin to believe that voice in our head is us, and it just isn't. And as we start to see that, we can still have those thoughts, but they are a thought rather than endless thinking, because we're not putting all that extra energy in. we kind of go, it's the difference between, oh, I shouldn't be having a negative thought. What do I need to do about it? How can I fix it? How can I get rid of it? And the energy that's more like this, which is, oh yeah, that's that old habitual silly thought that I have sometimes. Okay, but I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. And as always, never forget that our feelings, our emotional sensations in the body are so important to guide us to see which thoughts are true and which are not. If we're believing something that isn't true, it feels really awful in the body. What a gift that is. Don't see your emotions as a problem. They really are a gift. So I hope that's been helpful. I really hope that's been a little bit helpful. The Thriving Woman approach is just, it's changed my life, looking at everything from the inside out. And I hope these sessions are helpful to you too. Take care. Lots of love, and hopefully we'll bump into each other again soon. Thank you for tuning in to explore your journey from surviving to thriving. For more insights and resources, please visit my website www.claredownham.com and explore the Thriving Woman Masterclass. Remember, thriving is within your reach. See you next time.